So class, welcome to the lecture 31. Lecture 31. So in this lecture 31 of basic electrical engineering, I will start with the basic knowledge of transformer. Basic knowledge of transformer. Okay, I'm saying here I will start with the basic knowledge of transformer. So basically, depending upon the number of phases, these transformers as this transformer, it can be single phase, it can be single phase or three phase transformer. Okay, so transformer, in short I am writing it as X and MER as superscript. Okay, but you will not write it here because for teaching this, in short I am writing it like this, but you will write the complete word transformer. Okay, so basically let us first come to the basic definition of transformer. You all have seen transformer at your homes, voltage stabilizer, where you have seen that you have an input voltage which is an AC voltage, a low voltage generally, because in Kashmir there is a voltage problem, means the consumers are not getting 220 volt at their in this low terminals or household terminals. So instead of 220 they are getting 160, 150, 170 volts. So what is basically the function of the transformer there? There you use a transformer which steps up the voltage, AC voltage, from 150 or 160 volt to 220 volt AC. So the input is also AC and the output is also AC. So that type of transformers are called as step up transformers. Okay, so basically let us come to the definition. What is a transformer? It is an electrostatic device. It is an electrostatic device that is used to transfer power, to transfer electrical energy or power from one circuit to another without changing the frequency. So if you can see from the definition, you can see I am saying that it is an electrostatic device. Means static means stationary. Means this device does not have any moving component. Okay, so and what why is this transformer used? It is used to transform electric energy oblique power, okay, from one circuit to another. Means from an electric circuit to another electrical circuit. Without changing the frequency. Without changing the frequency means whatever is the frequency on the supply end, same will be the frequency at the output end. Okay, so I can also write this definition in a different different manner. So in other words, I can say that it is a static device. I can say it is a static device which transforms the voltage oblique current from one value to another value. Without changing the frequency. So if you will see, basically what is transformer? In transformers, we have one supply end, another is the load end, okay, or the output end. So basically this transformer, it is a stationary electrostatic device which is used to transform power or energy from one circuit at one voltage level to another electrical circuit at some another voltage level, but while doing so it will not change the frequency of the system. So if you will see from here, if you will see, I'm talking about that frequency remains constant, frequency will not change. So it means that this device, it works on AC, because in case of a DC we don't have any cycle. Frequency means number of cycles per second. Okay, number of cycles per second means if I have an AC, I have, this is one cycle. Okay, so frequency means how many cycle it is completing in 1 second. Sorry, I'm saying this is a AC waveform, this is omega t. Okay, so I'm saying this is AC waveform, this is 1 cycle per second. So this is 1 cycle. Okay, so how many cycles this quantity can complete in 1 second, it is called as frequency. So in case of a DC, if you will see what is the graph for DC, the graph for DC is like this. Okay, so there are no positive and negative cycles in DC. So if there are no positive and negative cycles, means there is no frequency. Frequency is equal to 0 in DC. However, frequency we have some value. For example, in India we have 50 hertz, and for USA we have 60 hertz. 50 hertz mean 50 cycle per second, and 60 hertz mean 60 hertz cycles per second. So this transformer, it works on the principle of Faraday's laws. F is capital because it is a name. Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So let me write this definition more appropriately. Electrostatic device that is used to transform electrical energy or power, okay, power from one circuit to another without changing the frequency. Okay, from here we should add some more text, from one circuit to another by mutual induction. By mutual induction means something is induced in one coil, and because of that something is induced in another coil. Okay, that is called as mutual induction. So I am writing this mutual induction at the last because here I am saying that it works that this transformer, it works on the principle of Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So what are the laws of electromagnetic induction? So hoping that you must have studied physics in your 10+2. So Faraday's laws of electromagnetic inductions, I will not go into detail. Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, EMI in short. Okay, so basically this Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, it will have two components or two definitions. Number one, the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction says that whenever there is a relative motion, whenever there is relative motion between a set of conductors and uniform magnetic field, what will happen when there is a relative motion between a set of conductors and a uniform magnetic field, then an EMF is induced in the conductors. So basically, first of all, I am writing whenever there is a relative motion between a set of conductors and a uniform magnetic field, then an EMF is induced in the conductor. Okay. So what do you mean by relative motion? Relative motion means motion of conductors, okay, relative to the magnetic field. Okay, suppose I am saying this is pen and this is paper. Okay, so if I am saying I am moving this paper is stationary and I am moving this pen from left to right, so I am saying this is a relative motion between the paper and the there is a relative motion between the paper and the pen. Okay, okay, because there is displacement between them. Okay, however, if I am what I am doing, I am keeping a pen like this and I am moving both paper and the pen together like this. Look, what is the change in the position of the pen with respect to this paper? The position remains same. Okay, so in that case there is no relative motion between the paper and the pen. However, if the paper is stationary and I am moving the pen, or if the pen is stationary and I am moving the paper like this, so I will say there is a relative motion between the paper and the pen. Okay, so Faraday's law says whenever there is a relative motion between the conductor and a uniform magnetic field, then only EMF is induced in the conductor. Okay, and the second point of the Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction is, so we are saying EMF is induced, but how much EMF will be induced in the conductors? So it will depend upon some factor. So let us see what is that factor. So we are saying EMF induced in conductor is directly proportional to the amount of flux that is passing or linked with conductors. So firstly, for inducing an EMF, there should be a relative motion between uniform magnetic field and this conductors. And secondly, the EMF induced, it will depend upon what is the amount of flux that is linked with the conductor. Okay, suppose I am saying I will take a solenoidal section here. This is cylindrical shape conductor. So what I am doing, I am taking a solenoidal section here. Okay, so over this solenoidal section, what I am doing, I am placing these conductors. Okay, this is a winding which consists of conductors of many turns. Okay, so suppose these are the conductors, and what I am doing, I am connecting a galvanometer here. Okay, what is the purpose of the galvanometer? This is galvanometer G, or galvanometer, I will write complete galvanometer. Galvanometer means if there is any current in the circuit, so what will happen, the pointer of this galvanometer, it will deflect. Okay, it may deflect in this direction or this direction, but it will deflect whenever there is current in this coil. So how the current will flow in this coil? So the only way the current will flow, that there should be some EMF should get induced across this coil. So if an EMF is induced across this coil, what will happen? Because of the closed path and because of the induced EMF, some current will flow. Okay, so this galvanometer will show that some EMF is getting induced. So right now we have only coil, so no EMF will be induced. So what I am doing, so here I am taking a permanent bar magnet. Okay, so I am saying this is the north pole and this is the south pole. Let me draw the magnetic lines of force. So magnetic lines of force will move like this. Okay, so what will be the direction of these magnetic lines of force? It will be from north towards south pole, from north pole towards south pole. Okay, so as you can see, this bar magnet and this coil, they are fixed. So is there any relative motion? There is no relative motion between these two. No, that is this solenoid and this bar magnet. So as there is no relative motion between them, what will be the EMF that is induced in this coil? So please read the first point of this Faraday's law. It says there should be a relative motion between the conductor and the uniform magnetic field. Of course, this is a bar magnet. So this permanent bar magnet will have a uniform magnetic field. So as long as there is no relative motion between these two, no EMF is generated in the coil. So how can a relative motion take place between this bar and this coil? So there are two ways. Number one, you move the magnet downwards and then upwards. Okay, downwards and upwards. So that way there will be a relative motion between magnet and this circuit. So because of the relative motion between this set of this is a set of conductors and this uniform magnetic field that is generated by this bar magnet, so an EMF will be induced in this coil. So as long as they both are stationary, relative motion is zero. So these magnetic lines of force, they will not cut this now these coil, these conductors. Though some flux will cut the conductors, but EMF will not be generated unless until there is a rate of change of flux. Okay, because EMF generated is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux. So rate of change of flux means flux should be changing. So only when this flux will change, if you keep a conductor stationary, even inside this coil, still no this EMF will be generated, because at that time also the EMF flux will be constant. So you need a changing flux. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to continuously move this bar magnet up and down. This way, this flux will this changing flux will link with this conductor windings, and this way an EMF will be generated. Okay, so I am saying as long as the solenoid and bar magnet, they are fixed, the galvanometer will not show any reading, or it will not show me any deflection. So I am saying you can create a relative motion between these two, either by changing the magnet, by moving the magnet up and down, or by moving this arrangement up and down. Okay, so I am saying just read the second point of this electromagnetic induction. So it is saying that the EMF generated, E, that is induced in this coil, it will be directly proportional to the amount of flux or changing flux that is linked with the conductor. Obviously changing flux is there is some flux that is linked with this conductor, but due to the motion of the bar magnet, that flux will be changing in nature. Okay, so I am saying EMF will be directly proportional d phi by dt. Okay, so if I will remove the proportionality sign, I will write E is equal to minus n d phi by dt. So where what is n? N is nothing but the number of turns of the coil. N is nothing, number of turns TURNS, turns T. And what is this negative sign? This negative sign is used because of the Lenz's law. You know, in case of electromagnetic induction, means the effect opposes the cause. So the cause is the relative motion of the conductor or changing flux. Okay, and what is the effect? Effect is the EMF generated. So this EMF generated, it will oppose the changing flux. Okay, that's why E is equal to minus n d phi by dt. So when this was stationary, magnet was stationary, EMF was 0. When this magnetic was moved here, so there some changing flux will be generated in the there will be some change in flux in the that will cut through these conductor coils. So means an EMF is generated. So I am saying okay, this is how this is the working principle of this transformer. But in case of a transformer, we don't use a bar magnet. Okay, so what we do, instead of, there are two ways to produce a changing flux. Okay, one way is to that you can move the magnet, or another way is that you can use a AC quantity. Okay, so that if you are using a AC signal, what is happening, so that AC flux, it will be also changing in nature, means the flux will be like this. Okay, if you are seeing at every instant, it will have some value, this flux will have some value. So at this instant, value of the flux is this, at this time instant, value of flux is this, at this time instant, value of flux is this. Okay, you are seeing that this flux is changing with respect to time. Okay, so if you are using the input as AC supply, means AC voltage, that voltage is also changing in nature like this. Same is the current, same will be the flux. Okay, so because of this changing input, because if we are applying an AC input to the transformer, so the flux that is generated by the in the transformer, in the primary winding of the transformer, that will also be a sinusoidal flux. Okay, so means it will be changing flux. Got it? So I told you that this transformer, it is a static device. So I am saying static device. Firstly, I will generalize that we have machines, electrical machines. Oh, electrical machines. So electrical machines. So some of the books, they don't consider transformer as a machine, but some of the books, they consider transformer as a machine. So because they say that the basic definition of machine is that it converts mechanical energy into electrical energy or electrical energy into mechanical energy. But still, some of the authors, they consider transformer as a machine, but as a static machine. So we say these electrical machines, they are broadly classified into two categories: rotating machines and static. Static means static machines. Okay. So in rotating machines, we have, what are the types? Generally, we have generators, and then we have motors. Because you know this, they are rotating parts. They have rotating parts, motors and generators. And in static machines, we have only one, that is transformers. Generators, they can be AC generators, they can be DC generators. Motors can be AC motors and DC motor. However, transformer, it is also always an AC transformer. So I'm saying because of this static nature, means because of this static nature, static means stationary. So if something is stationary and something is moving, which will have higher efficiency? You need to see, in case of a moving no, or rotating machines, we have friction losses. Okay, wherever there is motion, there is friction. We have frictional losses. We have noise, because more more will be the higher the speed, more will be the sound. Okay, so noise, we have friction losses, we have windage losses. So because of that, the efficiency of the rotating machines is low. Efficiency is low. And because of the static nature of this transformer, their efficiency is very high. If you will see generators or motors, they will have an efficiency of 50%, 40%, 20%. However, if you will see a transformers, they will have an efficiency of around, means 80%, 90%, 95%. Okay, so I'm saying because of this static nature, these transformers will have very high efficiency. Okay, so I'm saying in an AC, both input and output are AC quantities. Okay, both input and output are AC. So let us first discuss. So I told you, so far we discussed about what is transformer, definition of transformer. Okay, what is the principle of this now, on which principle they work? Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction means relative motion between the field and the set of conductors, and the EMF induced, I told you, directly proportional to the amount of flux or rate of change of flux. Got it? Then I told you what this transformer, it is a static equipment, so it will have higher efficiency. And I also told you that this in transformers, it transforms the power from one voltage level to another voltage level, and from one circuit to another circuit, but it will not change the frequency. So from that frequency, what you should know, that in case of a DC, frequency is 0. So it is not, transformer will not work on DC, it will work on AC only. So let us first discuss the basic elementary diagram of a transformer. Basic diagram. So in case of a transformer, the main part of the transformer which completes the magnetic path for the flux, it is the core. So I will draw it here like this. I will make the bigger diagram. So this is my core. Okay, so this core, since the flux that is generated by the primary winding, it has to pass through this core. So this core should be made of good magnetic material. Good magnetic material. What do you mean by good magnetic material? By good magnetic material, you mean that its relative permeability should be high and its reluctance should be very low. Okay, because reluctance is the opposition to the flow of flux. If reluctance is high, so flux will not flow through this, no, through this iron core. If reluctance is high, flux will not flow through this iron core. Okay, so this is all about the core. Now let me draw the primary circuit and the secondary circuit. So I am saying I have windings here. Okay, so I have windings in this circuit. So here I will have input, and input is AC. Okay, so input is AC. So first thing you should you didn't, I think you people didn't notice it. So I said that for the EMF to induce, there should be a relative motion between the uniform magnetic field and conductors. However, in case of a AC circuit, I am this transformer, I told you that this transformer is it works on AC. Okay, so and I have told you it is a static device, means there are no stationary parts in this transformer. So if there are no stationary parts, so how there will be a relative motion between this? So there will be no relative motion. So why there should be a relative motion? I told you in electromagnetic induction we are talking about the relative motion. We want the relative motion so that the flux, it should cut the conducting, flux that is produced by this magnetic field, it should pass through the coil or pass through this set of conductors. And while it should not only pass the flux, it should be changing type of flux, means the flux should not be constant but it should change. Okay, it should be changing flux. So that's why we were moving this iron bar. Okay, but in case of an transformer, the input, which is the input quantity to the transformer, it is itself a changing quantity. It is itself changing with respect to time. Okay, means with respect to time, we have a whatever is the input voltage current, it is itself changing with respect to time. Okay, so because we want to have this effect now, that is changing flux, that's why we were saying that there should be a relative motion in order to have the changing flux. However, in case of a transformer, the input itself is changing. Okay, so that's why we don't need this moving parts here. Got it? So there I am saying, so we have a set of conductors here, or this is a winding here. I am saying it has turns N1. Okay, and this winding is called as primary winding. Primary winding. Similarly, we will have windings on the secondary side. So on the secondary side, suppose I have a variable load. Okay, this is a variable load, and these are the secondary terminals. So I will write it as secondary winding. Okay, and this winding has, suppose, turns N2. Okay, so this is the core, and these these two parts where we are we are placing the windings, where we are placing the conductors, these parts, they are called as limbs. This one is called as primary limb. Limbs means legs. So this one is called as secondary limb. So we can change the primary. If we are putting the source here and load here, then this is primary and this is secondary. But if we will put the source here and load here, this will become primary and this will become secondary. Okay, so I am saying I am putting a primary source here. Okay, AC source. So some current will flow in this coil and we have some number of turns. So a flux will be produced. Phi is equal to Ni. Okay, so this flux will follow this path. Let me draw the path which this flux will follow. Okay. So I am saying the flux will move like this. Okay. Okay. So I am saying this because of this changing flux, and EMF will be induced here. Okay. and same flux will flow through the secondary winding, and it will induce EMF on the secondary side as well. Okay, suppose I am saying that N1 and N2, they both are equal. Okay, means primary side turns and secondary side turns, I am saying they are equal. And since I am assuming that there is no leakage, no loss in the system, no leakage in the system, so I am saying suppose phi is the flux here that is generated, phi 1, and phi 2 is the flux here in the secondary side. So this phi 1 that is generated in the primary, it will flow through this magnetic material and it will pass through the secondary. Suppose I am saying that phi 1 N1 is equal to N2 and phi 1 is equal to phi 2. Ideal case means N1 equal to N2 and phi 1 equal to phi 2. So what will be E1? E1 will be equal to minus N1 d phi 1 upon dt, and E2 will be equal to minus N2 d phi 2 upon dt. So ideal case means phi 1 equal to phi 2. This is the ideal case. This is not the ideal case. N1 is equal to N2. We are assuming this. Hai na? Okay. So what happens in that case? N1 equal to N2 and phi 1 is equal to phi 2. What will happen then? Then E1 will be equal to E2. E1 will be equal to E2 means that EMF induced on primary side, primary, I will write this, will be equal to the EMF induced on secondary side. Okay. However, we do not design this transformer for N1 is equal to N2 because we want to step up or step down the voltage, okay, or current. So we do not keep N1 equal to N2, okay. But what I was saying this was the ideal case when phi 1 is equal to phi 2, means fluxes on both the sides, it is equal. However, in actual case, you know, we have this core is made of some magnetic material. I am saying that type of magnetic material which has very good magnetic properties, like which has very high permeability and very small reluctance. Okay, so in between, what is this space filled with? This space and this space. So it is filled with nothing. If there is nothing, there is air. Okay, and this air, it also has some permeability, though the permeability is very small and reluctance is very high, but still it has some permeability. I will draw the circuit again here. So that this was the ideal. I am now seeking practical transformer. So again I will draw the circuit. So again, this is a core. Suppose I am saying it is an iron core which has very high permeability. Suppose 1000. I am saying, okay. So and I will have some primary windings here. And I will have secondary windings here. I have load here. This is my load, this is my source, this is my AC source. I am saying I have turns, number of turns here is N1 and number of turns here is N2. Okay, so I am saying because of when this transformer, when I am connecting a primary with some AC supply, what will happen? Some flux will be generated in this coil. I am saying that flux is phi T, total flux. And this flux will follow this magnetic path like this. The flux will follow this path. Okay, so let's see. I'm taking no case of practical case where I'm saying phi T is the primary flux or the total flux. Okay, because primary flux is also the total flux. So this flux is taking this path, magnetic path. Okay, which has very high permeability, relative permeability mu r, and very small reluctance. Okay, but however I am saying that I have some I have air here in this space. I have air here. I have air. What will happen? Though the permeability of the air, it is very small. Suppose I am saying permeability of air, it is 1. Okay, so though it is very small compared to the permeability of the core, iron core, soft iron core. This is for soft iron core. But still, you cannot stop the flow of this flux through this air path. Okay, because this is a magnetic circuit, so we told you that like what is the function of current in this electrical circuit, same is the function of flux in the magnetic circuit. Okay, but there's a difference between electrical and magnetic circuit. What is the difference? In case of a electrical circuit, you can make the current equal to zero simply by making the circuit open circuit. If you'll break the circuit here, wire here, then what will the current that is flowing here, it will become zero. However, you cannot make the this flux equal to zero. Why? Because even though you are using a magnetic path of very high permeability, still some flux will pass through the air. Okay, because you cannot make the you can make the flux passing through the air equal to zero, which is called as the leakage flux, only if you can make the permeability of the air equal to zero, which is not possible because permeability of the air, relative permeability of the air is 1. So what will happen because of that, some flux it will flow in here like in this direction. Okay, so this flux which is flowing in this direction, this flux is called leakage flux, phi L. And the flux which is flowing through the core, it is called phi U, useful flux. And this phi U, useful flux, it reaches here. This is the flux which cuts through the secondary winding. See, here the flux is more and here the flux is less because of this leakage flux which is passing through the air. So because of this leakage flux, if I am considering, still if I will consider N1 equal to N2, so what will happen? You know that phi total or phi primary is equal to phi leakage plus phi U. Okay, suppose I am saying that phi total is 1 Weber and phi leakage I am saying it is 0.1 Weber or 0.2 Weber and phi useful is 0.8 Weber because the total flux is always constant and it is equal to the summation of the leakage and useful flux. So, and I am saying if N1 is greater equal to N2, so what will be the primary EMF minus N1 d phi t by dt, and what is E2 is equal to minus N2 d phi u by dt. Now we know that phi t it is more than phi u. So what will happen? E1 will be greater than E2. Why? Because phi t or phi 1 is greater than phi useful or phi 2. 1 means primary and 2 means secondary. So I am saying this leakage flux occurs due to the flow of flux through the air or vacuum. So which has very low permeability. Low permeability means low relative permeability 1. So because of this leakage flux, so I am saying I can make the leakage flux 0 only when I can make the relative permeability equal to what? Equal to 0, which is not possible. Okay, so what can do to reduce this leakage flux? So I cannot make mu r equal to 0, mu r a, that is relative permeability of air equal to 0. So what I can do means I can do something by which I can increase the relative permeability of this magnetic material so that more flux will pass through this magnetic material. Okay, so what I do, I am saying to reduce, what I am saying here, I am saying to reduce leakage flux phi L, comma, we make a core of material which has very low reluctance. Very low reluctance. Reluctance is denoted by S. Okay, very low reluctance and very high permeability. Very high permeability. So reluctance formula is given by S is equal to length of the conductor divided by area mu naught mu r. Okay, so we can change the length of the conductor, area of cross section, area of the coil, area and the relative permeability. So from this relation you can see that S is inversely proportional to the relative permeability mu r. So I am saying if I will increase mu r, what will happen? Reluctance will decrease. So what is reluctance? Reluctance, I told you in the previous class, reluctance offers opposition to the flow of flux. Like resistance, it offers opposition to the flow of current in electrical circuit. This reluctance, it offers the opposition to the flow of flux in magnetic circuit. Okay, so I am saying that this way we can reduce phi L. Okay, why? How? Because we are we can reduce phi L. How? Because we are using a core which has very low reluctance. So what is the tendency of the flux, or tendency of the flux to take a path uh, which will offer it low reluctance or low opposition? So definitely it will pass through that path. Got it? So still we can reduce phi L, but we cannot make phi L equal to 0. Means phi L cannot be eliminated completely. Phi L can be reduced, but it can't be eliminated. It cannot be eliminated completely. So I'm saying it cannot be eliminated completely. So unless until you make mu r of air gap, or relative permeability of air gap, equal to 0, which is not possible because it has a fixed value. Air gap has a fixed relative permeability which is equal to 1. Okay, so I am saying this, if I will follow these conventions, that means N1 is equal to N2, and I will consider the leakage as well. So I will say that the EMF that is induced across the secondary, it will always be less than the EMF that is induced across the primary. Okay. So this is the practical case, means in those where we consider the leakage flux, and this leakage flux, it is represented by small inductance in the transformer. Okay, when you draw the equivalent circuit, we represent it by a small inductance. Okay, which is called as the leakage inductance. Okay, it is a fictitious inductance or fictitious reactance, which is represented by XL or X leakage. It is a fictitious reactance which represents the leakage flux in the transformer windings. Okay, so the question is, how then we control E1 and E2? Okay, so we can control E1 and E2 by changing the number of turns N1 and N2. Okay, so the question is how to control the magnitude of the induced EMF. So I am saying we can control the magnitude of the induced EMF by controlling N1 and N2. Suppose I am saying that if N1 is 2000 and N2 is 4000, what will happen at that time? At that time, E2 will be greater than E1. Okay, similarly, if I am saying that N1 is 2000 and N2 is suppose 1000, what will happen at that time? At that time, E1 will be greater than E2. Got it? So first I talked about the ideal case where I am saying N1 equal to N2 and phi 1 equal to phi 2, where I am not assuming any leakage in the system. Suppose at that time, if I am supplying a 220 volt supply here, I will get 220 volt across the load, though there will be some drop because of the resistance of this winding, but in ideal case we say that resistance is equal to 0 for ideal resistors. Okay, so in this case, if I am saying practical case, if I am saying I have a 220 volt here and N1 is equal to N2, in that case I am saying I will get a voltage which is less than 220, suppose 202 volts here or 200 volts here. Okay, so I am saying I can control the value of the voltage by controlling the number of turns. If the primary turns are more than the secondary, then the primary voltage will be more than the secondary, and if the secondary turns are more than the primary, then the secondary voltage will be more than the primary voltage. So this was the very basics of the transformer. Okay, so next let me tell you about this types of transformer. So depending upon the number of turns of the transformer, we have two types depending upon number one, step up. We have basically two classification. First classification is based depending upon the number of turns, and the second classification is based depending upon the construction. So in the first classification, which is based upon the number of turns, we have step up transformer, where in step up transformer we say E2 is greater than E1, or E primary is greater than secondary is greater than primary. Step up means whatever is the input, the output is stepped up. Okay, means the output is increased, so E2 is greater than E1. Number two, step down. step down transformer. By step down transformer, I mean means whatever is the input, output will be reduced as compared to the input. So means E1 is greater than E2. So how will you show it diagrammatically? Suppose I am saying I have a core here. So first case I am taking step up. Step up means E2 should be more than E1. So obviously secondary turns should be more than the primary turns. So this is my N2. So this is my primary. So this is my N1. Clearly you can see this is my primary source voltage V1, this is secondary V2. So clearly you can see that N2 is greater than N1. So what will happen here? E2 will be greater than E1. Second is step down. Step down means that the voltage across the secondary, it should be smaller as compared to the voltage across the primary. So secondary turn should be less as compared to primary turns. So this is V1, this is N1, this is N2, this is V2. Here we have E1, this is E1 here induced, and this is E2. E2 will be V2 if there is no resistance. This is E2. So here N1 is greater than N2, so E1 will be greater than E2. So this is step up transformer and step down transformer. So now I have another classification which is based upon the construction. Depending upon construction, I'm saying second classification is based upon the construction. Based on construction. Based on construction of transformers. So here we have core type and second shell type. So for these type of transformer which we discussed so far with this diagram, where we have primary winding on one limb and secondary on another limb. So this type of transformers, whether it is step up or step down, these are called as the core type transformer. Okay. So second is shell type. In shell type transformer, what we have, instead of having winding on the two limbs, we have a winding on a single limb. So the core for that transformer, it will look like that. So this is my core, okay, made of iron, soft iron, but this core is shell type core. Shell type. This is core. This is basically here the core is of shell type. So it is not core type, it is shell type. So I have some windings here. Here I have the primary voltage V1 and I have N1 number of turns here, and here I will have secondary winding. This is V2 and this will have N2 turns. So the flux generated by this type of transformers will be like this. So this type of construction, it makes a shell type transformer. So I think that is enough for today. So in the next class I will so I showed you what is the practical transformer and what is the actual transformer. In actual transformer, we said that there is some leakage flux, and because of that leakage flux, there will be that leakage flux will be represented by some reactance. Let me see where is that page. Yes. So I am saying this leakage flux, it will be represented by some reactance XL in the circuit. This XL, it is a fictitious reactance. However, in case of a actual, we say that there is no leakage in the system, that so that phi 1 is equal to phi 2. So that is all for today's lecture. So hopefully I will start the 32 lecture and I will deliver that lecture on Monday. Thank you very much.